Yes.
Welcome to this week's episode of Moving Forward Talk with Diana. As always, this platform is open to discuss various topics with the goal to motivate others to shape their future without limitation. This week, we have our returning guest, Mr. Clarke.
Yes. I'm in the building.
Mr. Clarke was my first guest on Moving Forward Talk with Diana, and he's back.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being back.
It's a pleasure to have you back. And tonight, Mr. Clarke is going to give us some updates and what he has been doing, especially during this pandemic, with his the impact of this pandemic on his career. What is he doing to maintain? Mr. Clarke, give us a little bit of history for those who probably didn't see the first episode. Give us a bit of your background.
All right. So it's a pleasure being back. Thanks for having me again. And for those that didn't see me, I'm a teacher / professional boxer / trainer / musician and a little bit of acting.
Great.
Yeah, but I'm just a go-getter, someone that was born in Jamaica, came here at 11, and my roots just have me pushing forward. So everything I do in life, I try to just keep pushing, keep inspiring others, and just try to take to the next level. So every time I put my hands on something, I always try to just keep going, and keep going. And sometimes you slip and fall, but we get back up and keep going. So as Rocky said, it's not how hard you get hit, but it's how hard, it's not how hard you could hit, but it's how hard you get knocked down, get hit, get knocked down, and get back up and keep going forward. And that's what life is all about. The pandemic shows that it's hit some of us, but we can't stay down.
Yes. We have to have that resilience within us, man.
Yes.
And this was not a part of tonight's conversation, but I do have to ask, migrating here at age 11, how was the transition for you?
To be honest, I was excited as a kid. I was very, very excited. But I could say I got teased a lot, because I was different. My accent was stronger. The way I dressed was different. So I used to get into a lot of fights. I think that's what made me like to be a boxer now, because I grew up fighting so much because I was the different kid. I was the kid that later on they told me they loved my accent, but before that I thought they was making fun of me. So at that era, it was in the early 90s, and you know how it is. I don't know if you're familiar with New York in the early 90s, but it was real rough. Yeah. So I adjusted, but I did it with a fight.
And I thought about asking you that question because I came here when I was 17, almost 18. And man, when I tell you, I became so laid back because I just didn't want to open my mouth and say anything, not knowing how it was going to be perceived and how it was going to be accepted. And the little words like, oh, go back, cross the water, learn to talk and come back. So I wanted to know if you had that experience as well.
I did. I got into a lot of fight because I thought they were making fun of me. And for me, coming from where I come from in Jamaica, we just didn't play that. So, there's a couple of people back then felt my hands. And I guess I said, it just stuck to me to the point where one day I say, you know what? Let me just do it professionally. Yeah. Because when, I would say one female was the first one that came to me and said, no, we love your accent. But at that point in my life, I didn't take it as that. I was more like, okay, why you guys? And, with Americans, they love to say, yeah, man. So I realized they just love saying it, but I took it the wrong way.
And you know what, to be honest, I'm comfortable now speaking. I wasn't back then. But it do bother me at times, though, when they repeat what I say. And trying to use that Jamaican accent. Sometimes I still don't like that.
Yeah, especially when they don't sound like how we sound, you're
Right.
looking like, no, don't say that again, please.
Now, since this pandemic, and I'm sure it was before, but I paid more attention because I follow you on the different media,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I even follow you, watching you cook, making your meals, and your slogan now is defense, defense. Now
Yes.
explain that defense to me.
All right, you wouldn't believe it, right? So which one you want? You want the long story long?
You can give me a long story, yeah.
All right. So the defense all came together because one day I went training,
Mhm.
and it was something that was different with the air because my last fight was in February, and then March I think everything started shutting down. So after that, you couldn't do a lot of things anymore. So from there, I went running one day, and my body was just felt different. So I'm like, the air outside just felt different. I said something not right, but while the pandemic hit us, we were out of school. Even though I was still doing virtual teaching,
Mhm.
physically we weren't in the building anymore. So for me, I started doing a lot of things I usually wouldn't do. Like I said, I usually go to the gym. I couldn't go to the gym.
Mhm.
Now I'm there consuming more alcohol. So I'm like, oh my God, this is not good for me.
Mhm.
And just it got to a point where I feel probably the first or second week, I got a little depressed.
Right.
Because now I said the virtual teaching, you gotta do more paperwork. So for me, it was like, oh my God, like I want to go back to work. Like
Mhm.
I didn't know. I thought it was gonna be off from school for like a week. I didn't know it was gonna be the
Right.
rest of the school year. So I got a little depressed because I said I'm used to going to the gym and workout. I'm used to sparring, getting my frustration out in the gym. I couldn't do that. So one day after I went running that day, I ended up going to bed late because once again, mentally it's like, oh, you don't have to get up real early to go to work because it's
Mhm.
right there on Zoom. But the body was saying, what are you doing? You're not used to doing this. My body's like, look, you used to work out. You
Mhm.
wasn't drinking like this. So my body was like, what are you doing? So I got up that morning, went to get myself ready for class. And I'm in the bathroom now and I'm about to brush my teeth. And then my head just starts spinning. And at that moment, my head starts spinning. I'm like, what's going on? So I lean over the sink. And the next thing I remember, waking up off the ground.
Wow.
So, yeah. So once I woke up off the ground, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? So I got up, I looked in the mirror, and I said, hey, boy, COVID, go ramp with your girl Corona. Don't ramp with we. and I brushed my teeth, and I said, you know what? From now on, I'm on defense. And then from there, that's when I said, I'm gonna get greens, I'm gonna get my garlic, I'm gonna get my onion, I'm gonna get everything green and that's
Yeah.
good for us. Lemons, lime, drink my lime tea, lemon tea every morning. And from there I was gonna call out that day. But I said, no, I just say a quick prayer
Yeah.
and I said, you know what? No. I said, first and foremost, I ain't gonna lie to you. I said this in my mind. I said, a guy like me can't die in my bathroom. I said, I've been through some wars and I'm gonna die in my bathroom. So I got back up and I said, COVID, go ramp with the girl Corona, don't ramp with me. And then we come defense, defense, white blood cell, defense, defense, immune system, defense,
Yeah.
defense, belongs, defense, defense, hey COVID. And then from there,
I remember sitting the first time I actually saw you doing that on, I think it was on your story. And I kept
yeah,
watching it over and over. And I'm like, the Clarke, what? And you know what that put me in mind of at the time? Because every time I say Mr. Clarke to you, I don't know if
mm-hmm.
you have ever seen that movie, East Side High. No,
Oh, of course,
lean on me, lean on me.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is my favorite movie. And every time I say anything to you, I say, Mr. Clarke, all I can hear is, we don't want a good principal, we want Mr. Clarke. Yes. And, moving along, you mentioned feeling a little bit depressed. I have to be honest, I thought I was getting there. I had to get up out my bed one day and I said, depression is real. I'm not going to allow it to really have me down because I'm a person who likes to travel. It didn't matter if I
Yes.
was going somewhere Friday and coming back Saturday or Sunday. And then when I couldn't do that anymore, I haven't been traveling all my life, but when I started a few years ago, it has now become a part of me when I couldn't do that anymore. And of course, I couldn't go to the gym, and I'm just in the house. And I told
Yeah.
myself, I said, no, depression is real, so I need to get up and I need to start doing something. And
Hmm.
yes, how did you pull yourself out of depression or out of getting to that point deep into depression?
For me, I said I started praying and I got back to my fasting. And then from there, God just reminded me, like, you can't just be reckless out here. Like I said, I was being reckless.
Mm-hmm.
I was consuming too much alcohol. So, God just let me know, look, still continue working out,
Mm-hmm.
but now I got to do it in my yard. So now I start doing it in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I start eating better. I said I was doing my soup, like pumpkin soup, because it got to a point where I didn't want to eat no meat. It was just straight food, soup,
Mm-hmm.
and what else? As I said, the lemon, lime tea,
Yeah.
and that become the best thing. And the body start feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I would say just having faith, once I pray and fast, I want to learn in life. Once we pray and fast, it could take away any storm that we're going through in life. So fasting and praying, I always tell people is a must. So for me now, what I do, even if it's once a week, I make sure I spend that time meditating and fasting because I see the importance of it.
Right. I remember calling you up and say, "Hey, give me that recipe, man." When you made that deep, what what is it called? Your defense? You called it something.
Oh, I remember. Which one was that? Was it for the soup or was it?
No, it was a drink with the lemon.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, yes. That was the one with it was the garlic,
Mm-hmm.
lemon, honey, I think pineapple, turmeric.
Right.
Yeah, I put it all together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And every morning and night, I take a tablespoon.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah, no,
remember
no, that
asking you for the recipe, and I went ahead and I've done it twice since then. But I do it in large portions, sit in my refrigerator, and drink a teaspoon every morning.
that's why I was doing that too myself. And now, according to them, they said we having a second wave coming. Hopefully, they're wrong. Hopefully, there's no second wave coming, and we're gonna pray on that.
I know.
And what I've learned is that a lot of time us as humans we're gonna say stuff, but we gotta be careful what we say and put out in the universe because it will come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of time when people say stuff, even with me traveling this year, there's like, why are you going to Jamaica? Oh, this, that. They're gonna do this to you, that. And I realized no, I
No.
didn't claim none of those stuff. And when I went down there, what the people were saying, it wasn't true. Now, for some people, it might be true, but I just know that sometimes we gotta live our life
Right.
and don't listen to the naysayers and listen to this person, that, because if we do, sometimes it brings fear. Fear, worry, and doubt is
Mm-hmm.
not from the Father. So I always tell people that fear, worry, and doubt is definitely fear, worry, and doubt is not from the Almighty. It's from the enemy himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when this pandemic, as Bounty Killer called the pandemic, when it strike, a lot of people got fearful, and some of us and some loved ones we pass, and sometimes we pass because of fear.
Right.
And that's one thing I could say. Defense slogan helped me to get through, to let me know, like, hold up, I'm not gonna walk around fearful and say, oh, because think about it, that day if I did get up and say, oh my God, am I gonna die? I'd have probably got sick. But I got back up, I look in the mirror, and I say, yo, hey boy, COVID. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta look that thing in the face and you gotta call it out.
You got to call it out. You got to
Yes.
speak it into existence. The same way we speak stuff into existence, we can speak it. We can speak against it.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. Out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
So,
I totally agree.
as an educator, you're a professional heavyweight boxer, musician,
Yeah.
and actor. How has the coronavirus impacted your career?
I would say, as far as the teaching, it was more the virtual. That's the only thing that was different. But as far as uh, my payment, it was still the same. I was still getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime, we get paid in the summertime, so that was a blessing, and that's why I'm so happy I chose this profession
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, in the summertime, some people look at me and be like, "Oh my God, not working." But I said, "No, no, 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 no. I'm blessed." As
Mm-hmm.
my pastor would say, "Blessed and highly favored."
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as fighting wise, yeah, I'm not fighting, so that paycheck from fighting was a oops. But I said my number one paycheck is from teaching.
Right.
Uh, as far as music, a lot of my shows, I used to get paid for some, but a lot of my shows I don't get paid. Like as far as the boxing was, every time I fight, I get paid, win or lose. But as far as music, it wasn't the number one thing anymore because at one point I used to go hard with the music, but once again, some shows I get paid, some I don't. So, it's whatever. I just do it for the love. Uh, the acting, that same thing too. The acting, it depends on what deal we have, but
Mm-hmm.
acting was never a thing where it's like, oh my God, he's gonna miss a lot of money from that. So the primary source of income, that right there, I was still getting it. And then God blessed me with me training people. So that now opened up doors.
Right.
So I was able to do Zoom. My old university that I graduated from, they hired me. So I was able to do some classes with them
Mm-hmm.
online, and that was good. That was a blessing. Also, Team Hazardous, I always rep the Team Hazardous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my business partner started doing the Zoom classes, so that was good. Then also personal training, so those doors that open and those were blessing.
Right.
Like people will hire me and I'll do personal training or I might do small group training, and I was able to get blessed from that. So I would say for the most part, uh, the only negative I could say that come out of it was me not able to spar and be able to fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only negative. But for me, I took it as, you know what, I'm gonna go on vacation.
How was the vacation? I
Oh
watched
man.
you. I'm like, how did he go on vacation and not say anything? I didn't even know you were on vacation until I happened to message you. You're like, I'm in Jamaica.
Let's put it like this. It was well needed.
Mm-hmm.
And going back home, especially, it was my first time back home as an adult. So
Oh.
a lot of people that know me always say, "Oh man, I thought he was going to Jamaica every year." I always tell people, even though I don't travel a lot to Jamaica, I always support, send money home, down to
Mm-hmm.
family. Always support whatever somebody hit me up from down there and said need, I support it. So financially, I said I ain't travel, but my money fly down there in regular. So
Right.
that's one thing me. I believe in giving back. One of my friends that's Jamaican, he got at me about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you to work this man a long time." I said, "Look, money make the world go around, and if
Mm-hmm.
my money is touching down to feed a family or to help build up stuff down there for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
that's what matters." So he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that don't matter." I said, "Yes, it does, because once again, I was able to stay in America and I couldn't travel. So why did I send some money down to help somebody to travel up here?"
Right.
So it's many things I've done that I'm not gonna sit here and talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I just always let people know that one thing with me, I believe in giving back, and I never forget where I come from. So even though I didn't go down a long time, I
Mm-hmm.
gave back. So when I went down there, it was only rightful for them to treat me like that. They took care of me down there. When I went down there, it's like I was like, oh my God, because I didn't know what it was gonna be like, but they made me feel welcome, and my uncle took me back to my old neighborhood, and everybody drink together, eat together, and
Right.
that's the part that made me feel happy that I was able to go back home and support some of the brothers down there, and full joy to ting with some of the people down there. So it was nice. It was well needed.
Because when I looked at a couple of your videos, I said, "Man, celebrity, Mr. Clarke."
I know. I remember you reached out to me and said,
Yeah,
"Yes,
I
now."
had to send it to you. I said, "Oh man, you're a celebrity now."
No, no, it's a blessing, man. Like
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know how the people was gonna accept me, but it just feel good. It always feel good when you you go amongst your own people and they take you back in. And that kind of remind me of a situation in the Bronx. I've been performing for years, so I did shows all over, and a lot of the people, a lot of fans were American, so they love it. They're like, "Oh my God, I love reggae music." But for me, the test was when I went back to the Bronx, where it was a Jamaican spot, a Jamaican show, and all the artists there, I think it was about 20 something reggae artists. And for me, it put the pressure on me now because every time I was performing, it was more about around American people. So now I'm like, now it's majority Jamaican. And I remember it was a competition. And after everybody performed, I had this one song called Run Boy. And when that song come on, and I'm getting my energy king, because that guy gave me the name. He said, Elephant Man is the energy god. He said, you're the energy king.
Yeah.
And when I said the energy come on, the people I said, yo, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up. That thing hit me different because now your own people now saying, what? I said, am I bad? So that night I came in second place. Out of, I think it was like 27 to probably third. I can't remember. It was a big number. Out of all those artists, I came in second place. And the guy who beat me, he was from that neighborhood and he was an old school singer. He was like a Barry Hammond.
Right.
So, it's hard to be a Barry Hammond. So he tune was nice and people tell me and say, yo, when I come off stage and say, yo, are you a win, man? But tune come from knowing them players, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it was still a compliment just to know that, them accept me, all right. So same thing when I went back home, that's how I was feeling. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm back home. And
because the energy you receive is the energy you give. Trust me. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree. And I got to piggyback. You traveled down there recently or you haven't been back home in a while?
Not since last June.
Oh, see, you're still fresh now. You're still fresh.
That's since last June.
Yeah.
But when, like I said, the energy we give is the energy we receive. And when you can go back home and be on the same level with your people,
yes,
it makes no sense to go there and be on this level as if, you have arrived. Because I don't live here and I'm a teacher and I can do this and I have achieved certain success. I'm up here. No.
No. And that's what's so good about me going back to Rosites, because I was able to touch the people, feel the people, see what's going on, see where I could probably help out in the future, So for me, it felt good because even my uncle talked to me. Yeah, big up to Brown B. Brown B, if you watch this, large of yourself, my general. Yeah, so even my uncle, he let me know. He said, look, he'll take me to certain places and say, look, I want to see how the thing's set. That means say, in the future, you can't do this and that. And it was nice just to go back home as an adult and say, wow, all right, now I know. So now my vision is clearer now.
Right.
Yeah. And here goes now. This is the best part. You ready for this one? I was able to network with the #1 heavyweight champ in Jamaica.
Wow.
And now me and him is like this. Like, we talk on a regular. And I said something to him. I said, look, he had a great plan and he shared with me. He said he's going to try and build up a school and then, boxing school for the kids and train them. So on this page, I see him training kids. I see him training people back home. And I said to him, I said, look, if I could donate something, let me know. Right. So that right there was a blessing to be able to parley with him. And when I went down, he was kind of upset that I didn't tell him I was down there. Because when I was in Jamaica, I didn't really tell anybody. I just, I came back up and started posting. So he saw some of the stuff and he said, champ, he was in Jamaica. And I was like, yeah. So he was like, man, I didn't want to meet your champ. And, that made me feel good, to know that the #1 guy in Jamaica want to meet me. So that right there was a special feeling. So in the future, Jermaine Richards, big up himself, that's his name right there. They call him Breezy. So large up to Breezy.
Okay, now we spoke about virtual schooling, for decades.
Yes.
For decades, distant learning was geared toward working adults.
Yes.
Now, adapting to distant learning with the high school kids, how is that going?
Yeah, like for me, the virtual learning, because we haven't done the distance yet, so we did the virtual, and the virtual for me it was good. And I don't know if I told you, I'm no longer with the high schoolers. I'm now with the K through 8.
Mm-hmm.
So the high schools, I don't know because I haven't experienced it in a while. But I'm with I work with the 8th graders, 7th graders, those students. I could tell you this right here, virtually, it wasn't too bad. Once I adapt to it, it was okay. But I myself like the in person. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I like to be there and see these kids in person. I like to be hands on. So virtually is like it was kind of limited, certain
Right.
things you couldn't do that you could do in person. So a part of me is like, even now, the school year's about to start, and I let my supervisor know if I have to be in person or virtually, I do either. If you
Right.
guys want to be there on job, I'm there. So next week, I'll be reporting back to work,
Okay.
and some kids are going to do it virtually, some going to do social distance. But for me, I'm going to be there because that's my number one thing. I love my job,
Yeah.
and I want to be there for the kids, and I'm not living in fear. Like safety first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it like that. Like definitely, I don't want kids to come to school and then get sick and bring home to their parents. I definitely don't want that. But
Right.
as far as my job or as far as me being there frontline, I never mind that. I don't mind, and I said, stay prayed up and move forward because we can't live in fear. And don't get me wrong, we have to be safe. We have to take precautions, but I'm not gonna let fear be the head of my life. I know who I serve, and wherever they see me, that's who they're gonna see. They're gonna see the God in us.
So, how do you believe the virtual school now? How do you believe it's going to impact the educational system in a whole?
I know that's the part that I always think about. I'm like, man, in the long run, because even with some of my students, they usually take state exam,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of things got canceled. So I feel like after this is said and done, when they do go back to taking state exam, we're gonna probably see the drop. Hopefully it's not too crazy, but that's the part where I'm curious too. I know for the most part, my students I work with, I have a program called Let's Go Learn, wonderful learning program. Um, it was still beautiful. Like kids was doing great on it and everything, and have a lot of reading, have a lot of math, and so it's definitely good. Have some history in it too, so it's a great program. But once again, we don't really know until they start taking a state exam again to see
There you go.
how.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say some kids. The good thing with some kids, if they have parents that help them at home, I feel like those kids
Right.
they're gonna jump. But some students, unfortunately, it depends on their household. It might be a drastic change as far as, grades going down and dropping. But for right now, that's the part that I don't know. I can't really answer that question right now because the data, we don't have it right now. So let's see.
Right.
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully it's not too bad because I think about that myself. I said, oh man, how's this going to affect the students?
Yeah,
But
because I can just imagine, as a teacher, and I'm not saying during this state exam, but you're giving an exam in class, and teachers who are passionate though,
yes,
they'll walk around and peep on the students' paper, and if the question wasn't right, you're like, check number 3 again. Helping the student
yeah, you can't
indirectly.
do
They
that.
don't have that
Yes.
luxury, virtually.
I know, and that's where I rather go back to work. I rather be there in the building. And some students I know is going to do it virtually. Some parents decide to keep their kids home, which is okay. So I guess when I'm in the building, there's going to be time when I could virtually also work with those students.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I'm gonna be back, and I'm gonna see how it is. Like to be honest, the social distancing, I haven't experienced that yet. So when I go back on, I think Tuesday, I'll see.
The school starts for you on Tuesday.
Yeah. Usually the way it works right now, I'm telling you how it work. As schools over here that's opening up, some schools are open already, but as far as this school, First Christian, they're opening on, I think, the 3rd. So the 3rd, they're open. But my program now that I do, I don't know if I explained to you the COMPED. The COMPED is a program where it's more small group or
Right.
one-to-one. So I'm no longer doing the whole class anymore. In the past,
Mm-hmm.
I taught the high school math. Uh, I did 8th grade math. But for now, I'm doing something totally different, which is like small group learning. So
Right.
I'll go to the class, I pull them, bring them to my room 45
Okay.
minutes. Yeah, so that's how it works for me now. I do reading, writing, and math. So if a student is struggling in their math, that's when I come in. And I bring them in a small group setting because it's some students that they can't focus in a large group setting. So
Right.
that's where Mr. Clarke come in. And,
Okay.
yeah, I get them back on pace and whatever they're struggling or whatever weakness, whatever subject area they're weak in, that's where I use my,
Excellent.
yes. And I'll just basically,
You
you
know
know,
what? Not all teachers are trained for that.
yes, that's why I ain't gonna lie to you. That's why when I got this job, I was like, oh, look at this. I was like, the guy used to struggle when I was younger. I struggled taking tests, and now
Yeah.
look at me.
Yeah, not
The
all
one,
teachers are trained. Yes.
yes, nah, I agree. I agree. I
That's an
agree.
excellent
But,
job.
but I spoke to my supervisor earlier, and it's like when you hear stuff from your supervisor, it makes you feel good because she remind me who I am, and she remind me how happy she is to have me on the team. So, Dr. Garrett, we appreciate all that you do for the community and for being a great supervisor. She's a great supervisor.
So before we wrap up, just leave a word of encouragement to our students and adapting, especially for those who have to stay home. We're going to be staying home doing, virtual school.
Yes, I would say in life, it's about patience,
Mhm.
consistency, and determination. And also, you can't forget the 3 Ds. So when I say determination, you can't forget dedication and you can't forget discipline. So whatever you do in life, students, always remember Dr. Batance. He said, in order for you to lead, you must read. So don't forsake the books. Make sure you read. Make sure whatever you're having a problem with, it's a lot of things online, a lot of programs that can help you. iExcel, Let's Go Learn, Khan Academy. It's a lot of program out there to help us. So we live in a time where technology, even though technology could also be negative, but technology is here that's helping us in many ways. So let's use those tools that we have. Uh, Stay encouraged. My mother always said when I was younger, she always said, God first, education second,
Mhm.
and everything else will come. So that's the thing that I like to let my students know. Some of my students, they're different religion, different ethnic background. So I'm not the one to force religion on anyone, but I'll let them know the God I serve because wherever I am, He's the one he makes it possible for me, I should say.
Mhm.
He put me in places where I know that there's a God. So for me, my encouragement to let them know, stay positive, continue to read, pray, fast, be obedient, because that's the next thing too. The word said, my people suffer because of lack of knowledge, and my people suffer because of disobedience.
Mhm.
So from experience, I could tell you that I've been in those shoes where I did both sides of the fence. And I'll say, you know what? Let me go back on the righteous part of the fence because the other part, we know what come destruction. And, I don't think nobody wants destruction. So for the kids that stay home, just know that I'm here for you guys. It's a lot of teachers out there that's going to be there for you guys. And hopefully we'll get back to normal. But if we don't get back to normal, just continue to read, ask questions. We're here. Some of my parents, they know that. Like one grandmother, she used to say to me, Mr. Clarke, is there any way I could just cook for you? Because you have helped us so much through this pandemic. Because it got to a point where I had to create a whole email for her, email address, because
Mhm.
she didn't know how to go about it.
Right.
So yeah, so she always called me. Sometimes they always say, never give them your number, do email. But for her, I gave it to me because that was my job to say, you know what? I want to see your daughters, or should I say your granddaughters succeed. So call me whenever. And, it felt good just knowing that, she was so thankful for that to the point where she's like, oh, what do you like to eat?
And you say you gave her your number, and to be honest with you, sometimes we just have to meet. There's rules and regulations, but sometimes we just have to meet folks where they are.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
if their success is our accountability as well. Of course, they're responsible for their own education, but as a teacher, it is also our responsibility to assist them as best as we possibly can.
I totally agree. And that's why it was no
Right.
problem, because some people said, I remember one person, they said, oh, once I give the kids the assignment, that's it. Like, they'll tell me like, oh, I don't even leave my camera on that you can see my house.
No. And then how do we expect our kids to how do we expect our kids to even pass the class though?
Yeah, no, but you're right. But that's where I feel like you have to have a good heart to do this job,
Right.
because like it takes patience, and it's gonna be some students that could what's the word? Could draw your patience, that make you very impatient.
Right.
It's gonna be tough at that. But when you have love in your heart,
Mhm.
that's one thing with me.
And I
All my
have to say,
students.
I read, because I do read the Jamaica Star every so often, especially
Yes.
when it pops up. And quite a few times I read where different teachers in Jamaica during this pandemic actually copied the assignments and was walking door to door handing kids their assignments because the kids didn't have the internet. And
That's beautiful.
right, and instead of just, okay, this kid doesn't have the internet, it's not my problem. No, they didn't. They got up, copied the assignments, and walked door to door within the community to find their
Wow. See?
students.
Beautiful.
Right.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
And to me, that speaks volume. They're
Yes.
not only teaching as a career or for the money, but they're passionate about what they do. They care about the students.
Yes. And that's why, as you mentioned that, I remember I was telling someone when I went back home, my teacher, my fifth grade teacher, her name is Miss Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking if anyone from Roseites know where she is, because for years now, I want to see this lady and tell her how much I appreciate her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was probably one of my strictest teacher, but the love she showed us uh, basically overshadowed everything else. So even from her stern way, I appreciate it. And that's where, with me in this classroom, whenever I want to get stern with a kid, I remember what she did with us. It's certain things in Jamaica you can do, you can't do over here. But I remember just being stern and even letting us know. I remember one time she made us invest in a thick leather cowskin belt and put success on it. And she told us, she said, if I use this belt on you guys and you go home and tell your parents, and your parents come and want to fight me, I'm gonna use on them too. so, so,
But you know
so
what though? Back then, when you go, better
yeah,
not tell parents. When you tell parents gonna give you another one. So
yeah, I know, it's a different time. But
different.
here it goes now. I went home and tell my mother, and I'm thinking my mother's gonna back me, right? I'm thinking she's gonna be on my side. My mother looked and said, "Oh, I can't wait to meet her. I love her." I look at my mother like, "What?"
Tough love, man. Tough love.
No, I appreciate her, because she have, I would say about 98% of the kids in her class got skipped and went to a different higher grade
Right.
because we passed the common entrance. You remember common entrance back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we
Oh
passed the
yeah.
common entrance, and her technique was great. And I always want to see her in person, just to let her know how she's the one that motivated me to be the person I am today.
Yeah.
And she was a great example as a teacher.
That is awesome. And
Yeah.
in moving forward, my last question now, what's next on your agenda? Professionally, personally?
I would say right now I'm training more people. We have the boxing in the park coming every Thursday. Uh, we're gonna do it this Thursday at 7 p.m. in the park. So it's people that's in the neighborhood that's signing up. We have a website, teamhazardous.com, and we're doing that. And it's certain people that's reaching out to me for personal training.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also doing that now. And then I would say once I'm able to go back to the gyms and start hitting the bags again, I'll probably start sparring again. And then, my promoter might reach out to me, or I might reach out to him, and hopefully by the end of the year, I might be back in that ring again. Let's see what happens.
Awesome. It was a pleasure to have you, and I'm just going to leave this with our audience, especially our young people. You can achieve the height of your success by turning your struggles and your failures into growth and opportunity. And remember, the change you seek is within you, and nothing is ultimately beyond you. Until next week, this has been Moving Forward Talk with Diana.